Good evening, folks. I have discussion B for you. We are discussing 3 midlife factors that shape a dementia-free life. Okay, so with that being said, let's get going, shall we? Here we go. Midlife is a particular midlife is a peculiar season. It is the moment when person can still feel the momentum of youth, projects to finish, people to care for, plans to make, yet also sense the first subtle hints that the body is not quite as effortless as it once was. A knee aches after a long walk. Sleep becomes lighter. A routine checkup reveals a number that needs watching. Most people brush these things off, believing they belong to the distant future. But the future is already listening. Over the past decade, researchers have followed thousands of adults from midlife into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. What they discovered is both startling and hopeful. Three simple midlife factors predict who will live longer without dementia. They are not exotic biomarkers or futuristic genetic tests. They are everyday measures of vascular health, normal blood pressure, no diabetes, no smoking. Together, these factors form a quiet scaffolding that supports the brain's ability to stay clear, connected, and resilient. As the decades unfold, a story that begins long before symptoms. Imagine a woman in her late 50s. Let's call her Lorraine. She is busy, competent, and endlessly relied upon. She manages her household, her job, her aging parents, and the emotional weather of everyone. She loves. She rarely thinks about her brain. Why would she? Her memory is sharp, her judgment steady, but inside her skull, a different story is unfolding. The blood vessels that feed her brain, tiny, delicate, branching like the roots of a tree, are responding to every beat of her heart, every raise in blood pressure, or every rise in blood pressure, every fluctuation in glucose, every inhalation of smoke. These vessels are the infrastructure of her future cognition. And midlife is when they are most vulnerable to long term injury. This is why the three midlife factors matter so profoundly. They are not just risk factors, they are the conditions under which the brain's future is built. Normal blood pressure, the brain's silent guardian. Blood pressure is often misunderstood as a simple number of a cuff, but in the brain it is a sculptor. When pressure is too high, it slowly carves away at the white matter pathways that carry information from one region to another. It damages the lining of the small vessels. It reduces blood flow to deep structures responsible for memory and planning. Chronically elevated blood pressure in midlife accelerates white matter loss. Increases microbleeds, reduces perfusion to the hippocampus, raises the risk of stroke and a major accelerator of dementia. People who maintain normal blood pressure in midlife live significantly longer without dementia. It is one of the strongest predictors of cognitive longevity ever identified. For families, this message is simple: protecting blood pressure in your 50s protects your memory in your 70s. No diabetes, keeping the brain's energy stable. The brain's an energy hungry organ. It consumes about one fifth of the body's glucose at rest. When diabetes develops, the brain's fuel supply becomes unstable. High glucose damages blood vessels, damages vessels. Low glucose starves neurons. Insulin resistant affects not just the body, but the brain's ability to regulate inflammation and clear toxic proteins. Midlife diabetes is associated with faster cognitive decline, earlier dementia onset, increased vascular injury, impaired amyloid clearance. People who reach midlife without diabetes or who manage it tightly gain years of additional cognitive life. Families often think of diabetes as a condition affecting their kidneys, eyes, or feet, but its impact on the brain is profound. Protecting glucose stability in midlife is one of the most powerful ways to protect memory later on. Not smoking, protecting the brain's oxygen supply. Smoking is a direct assault on the brain's oxygenation. Every cigarette introduces toxins that damage the endocrine lining of blood vessels. Over time, smoking accelerates vascular injury, increases inflammation, and doubles dementia risk. Smoking in midlife reduces oxygen delivery, increases oxidative stress, accelerates microvascular damage, raises stroke risk. People who do not smoke in midlife live substantially longer without dementia, often by a margin of a decade or more. For families, this is one of the clearest, most actionable findings. Quitting smoking at any age improves brain health, but quitting smoking before age 60 has the largest impact on dementia-free survival. The combined effect, a decade of additional cognitive life. The most starking finding from long-term studies is not the impact of each factor alone, but the combined effect. Adults who reach midlife with normal blood pressure, no diabetes, and no smoking history live about 13 additional years without dementia compared to those who have all three risk factors. 13 years, 13 holidays, 13 seasons of family stories, laughter, and independence. This is not a small effect. It is one of the most powerful insights in modern aging research. why these factors work together. These three factors are these these three factors share a common pathway. Vascular health. They protect the brain's blood vessels, reduce inflammation, stabilize oxygen delivery, and preserve white matter integrity. They also reduce the risk of stroke, which is one of the strongest accelerators of dementia. In other words, they keep the brain's infrastructure intact. When families ask what they can do to reduce dementia risk, the answer is not mysterious. It is not hidden in genetics testing. It is not or expensive supplements. It is grounded in the everyday management of vascular health. A family facing truth. Families often fear dementia as something unpredictable, something that arrives without warning. But the science tells a different story, one filled with agency and hope. The choices made in midlife ripple forward, shaping the brain's future resilience. Normal blood pressure, no diabetes, not smoking. Three factors, 3 decades of impact, 3 ways to protect the stories. Relationships and memories that make a life whole. Okay, guys, that is your B for today. I will be back on in a bit for C. Give me a little bit for a break, and I'll be back on with you shortly. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.